It is a fine night. The clamor of the streets has faded into a most agreeable silence. Tonight, I wish to share a rather curious tale with you. Consider this book before me, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. The world is content to dismiss it as a mere fantasy for children. But, my friend, have you ever truly read it? I find myself returning to these pages time and again, lost in thought. We live our lives under the firm belief that every event must have a cause and every action a consequence. Is that not so? Yet, in the place where this girl Alice ventured, that very foundation of logic is unraveled, as if by the playful, wandering hands of a child, thread by thread, until nothing remains. Words lose their meaning. Rules are rewritten in the blink of an eye. In a reality we assume to be governed by reason, a story where the architecture of logic collapses so utterly is a rare find indeed. I do not mean to suggest this is merely a chaotic dream. On the contrary, I suspect that within this very story lies a hidden, profound freedom of thought, a freedom we are often too timid to acknowledge in our daily lives. Why did a trivial act, the simple pursuit of a white rabbit, become the gateway to a labyrinth of such distorted logic? And why did Alice, instead of retreating in fear, cast herself into the depths with such curiosity? Tonight, let us set aside our burdens. Let us take this distorted labyrinth apart, piece by piece. There is no need to search for a hidden moral. We shall merely peer into the abyss and observe what this maze dares to reveal. Are you prepared? Then, let us embark upon this journey of the mind. Let us step through the glass into a world both beautiful and cruel. Now, let us turn our attention to the most enigmatic resident of this labyrinth, the Cheshire Cat. You surely recall the scene, that moment in the midst of a conversation where the creature vanishes quite abruptly. What strikes me as truly profound is not the act of vanishing itself. It is the fact that, as it dissolved, the creature left behind nothing but its grin. Just the smile. Alone. My friend, I ask you to engage in a moment of physical deduction. When an object ceases to be, is it even conceivable that a mere fragment of it should remain suspended in space? From the standpoint of philosophy, or indeed the laws of physics, this is a glaring contradiction. Yet Carroll saw fit to thrust this absurdity directly before our eyes. To me, this disappearing grin feels like a chilling forewarning of the fragmentation of information in our own age. Once we perceived an entity and the information it radiated, the cadence of a voice, the fleeting nuance of an expression, the very aura one carries, as inseparable wholes. But here, in this story, the body of the cat is erased, leaving only the grin, an abstract piece of information, floating in the ether. Is this not a metaphor that strikes at the heart of our modern condition? A state where the essence or the symbol drifts on, entirely untethered from the body that birthed it. Alice is bewildered by this disembodied smile. She attempts to engage it, but the information ignores the context of her inquiry, existing purely as an echo of itself. Tell me, if we were to lose sight of the substance behind the words we hear, or the torrents of data that stream before our eyes, what would become of us? We would likely find ourselves, much like Alice, utterly lost. That twisted grin, at the very moment the cat disappears, is nothing less than a warning, a sign that logic has been usurped by something far more capricious. How do you interpret this substanceless smile? As for me, I suspect this cat is the true guardian of the labyrinth, a mischievous philosopher who, with the sleight of hand of a stage magician, hides the very truths and answers we hold most dear. Now we arrive at the most melancholy, and yet most compelling part of this tale. I speak of Alice's physical transformations, the strange, unsettling way she grows and shrinks. Would you dismiss this merely as a child's flight of fancy, or perhaps the hallucinations of a poisoned mind? I cannot. To me, this appears as a powerful metaphor for the agonizing demand to conform, forced upon a young girl by a suffocating social structure. Just consider it. One moment she is a giant. The next, she is no larger than a thimble. Against her own will, she is forced to reshape her very form to suit the environment. Is this not the very image of what humanity has been forced to endure in this age? An age where the relentless march of mechanization and industrialization dictates our worth? In the factories of our time, men are treated as mere components. They must bend their bodies to match the rhythm of massive machines, or shrink themselves to fit into the narrow confines of productivity. The sizes of the holes and doors Alice encounters, they are the scales of the system itself, demanding that she define her place within their rigid order. She weeps, asking, "Who in the world am I?" And why shouldn't she? When one is constantly forced to change shape to survive the environment, losing the boundaries of one's own soul is inevitable. Alice is facing the terrifying collapse of her own identity. My friend, I ask you to look at London. Look at this city, shrouded in soot, where the massive gears of progress rotate without rest. How much of ourselves have we suffocated to survive here? The laborer must adapt his flesh to the gaps in the machinery to keep pace with the steam engine. Conversely, within the stifling salons of the upper class, one must kill one's ambitions and desires, to shrink down until one fits perfectly into their narrow, prescribed boxes. Alice is suffering the terror of having her form distorted by the scales of others. She changes size not by her own choice, but by the potions and cakes she is forced to consume. This is a metaphor for the cold, relentless pressure of the new gears of modernity, a force that seeks to reshape human existence to fit the specifications of production efficiency and class order. The pool of tears Alice sheds, perhaps it is the accumulation of the silent cries of countless souls who have been forced to live like machines, losing sight of who they truly are. But here is what I find truly striking. She does not merely submit. Tossed about by a body that refuses to stay the same, she continues to cast the question of why at the absurd rules surrounding her. No matter how they try to reshape her, she keeps a singular, unwavering light in her eyes. She refuses to surrender her own perspective. This is the only hope in this story. In this cold era dominated by giant steel gears, it is the only weapon we have left to defy our own erasure.
Well then, my friend, the story comes to a close. Alice finally wakes from her sleep. She returns to the lap of her sister in the real world. Many people laugh at this, calling it a mere dream ending. However, I do not agree. Alice woke up for a reason. It is because she rejected the rules of that distorted labyrinth. The residents of the maze told her, there is no right answer. They told her, everything is meaningless. But Alice, even while being swallowed by that absurd chaos, finally shouted at the soldiers of cards. She cried out, "You are nothing but a pack of cards." Yes, that is the truth. No matter how complex the rules may seem, no matter how much the world appears to be ruled by giant machines or powers, they are, in the end, nothing but a pack of cards. By seeing through the rules that bound her, by realizing they were mere fiction, she caused the labyrinth to collapse. When Alice woke from her dream, she held no cards in her hands. Instead, in her eyes, there must have been a reality far clearer and stronger than anything she had ever known before. My friend, the world we live in is not so different from that labyrinth. We are surrounded by social conventions, established norms, and the expectations of others. Sometimes we feel crushed by these massive invisible rules. But please do not forget, as long as you do not lose the perspective to see that any labyrinth is, at its core, a fiction, you can wake up from it at any time. The night has grown quite late. Tonight, let us toast to the courage of that young girl, Alice. And from tomorrow, let us hone our eyes to see through the packs of cards that are hidden in our own reality. Now, let us close this book. The exit to the labyrinth is often found right beneath our feet.